What we have to confront is a deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process.
Can you translate that for us? What is he really talking about?
He's talking about us essentially giving up individual national sovereignty and giving up individual freedoms and turning over rule to experts. In fact, at his meeting in Davos, he said he looked at everyone in the room, and these are billionaires, millionaires, corporate heads, government bureaucrats, Hollywood celebrities, the royal family, Bill Gates. He looked at everyone and he said, "We have in this room, we get to decide the future of the planet." I mean, that's the kind of maniacal James Bond villain attitude he actually has. So what's significant, though, about this G20 speech you just played, Ali, he is now being treated as a head of state. It's now a nation state. It's reached that level status at a G20 summit where he can go up there and talk about radical restructuring, systemic restructuring of the planet, and he gets literally the same VIP treatment. And what's amazing about that is, how did he get to this position of power? Well, in the book I go back, it's founded in 1971, and the key to the way the World Economic Forum is so powerful, they found a way for businesses, academics, and lobbyists and fundraisers to meet with politicians off the books, outside the purview of lobbying, regulators, any oversight. And they have these annual meetings, and it's a free-for-all where you get corporations, government, celebrities, academia, all together, and they're meeting, they're talking, I hate to use the word conspiring, but they're planning. And this is how you end up with things like environment, social governance, ESG. This is how you end up with all of these corporate mandates. And what ultimately comes out of this, and this is the simplest way of looking at it, the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, this whole agenda is to make it so we have no choice on some of the biggest questions of our lives, and just even down to the smallest. And here's a few examples. We didn't get to vote on whether gas-powered cars would be banned. We didn't vote for vaccine mandates. We didn't vote for lockdowns. We didn't vote to have churches closed. We didn't vote to have schools closed. We didn't vote for mask mandates. We didn't vote for banning of meat. But all of this is happening because at these meetings, like the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, they meet and they work with government corporate collusion to bypass democracy. And in a simple sentence, the Great Reset is basically making the once free West copy the same model as one-party Chinese authoritarian rule. That is the Great Reset. They bypass democracy and impose stuff through this corporate government fascism. And we get told what's happening. We don't get to vote on it. There's no hearings in Congress. There's no town halls. There's no switchboards lighting up for a big vote. None of it. We're just told the car's gone. Your meat eating's going. Yeah. We're creating energy shortages. Sorry, you need a vaccine to go into this place. Sorry, your schools are closed. Sorry, your churches are closed. What? Huh? How did that happen? The Great Reset.
We're undergoing a soft coup, and the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO Directorate in the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations but enforceable edicts, provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey. Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
That's also, of course, true with COVID, right? We are all only as healthy as our neighbor is on our street, in our city, in our region, in our nation, and globally. And did we solve that? Like, did we actually manage to vaccinate everyone in the world? No. So highlighting water as a global commons and what it means to work together and see it both out of that kind of global commons perspective, but also the self-interest perspective, because it does have that parallel. It's not only important, but it's also important because we haven't managed to solve those problems which had similar attributes. And water is something that people understand. You know, climate change is a bit abstract. Some people understand it really well. Some understand it a bit. Some just don't understand it. Water, every kid knows how important it is to have water. When you're playing football and you're thirsty, you need water. So there's also something about really getting citizen engagement around this and really, in some ways, experimenting with this notion of the common good. Can we actually deliver this time in ways that we have failed miserably other times? And hopefully we won't keep failing on the other things, but anyway.
Everything happening on the world stage right now is all part of the structural restructuring you heard Klaus Schwab talking about in the clip that I included in this video. You have to understand they have a very nefarious plans for the future, which they are running out of time. They can't wait to accomplish all their plans. And what that means for you and I is that they are about to push us to the brink. They are about to push the whole world into chaos. Because Klaus Schwab made a statement. He said, once they are done structural restructuring of the world, it will look very different. The world as you know it will be over. And they showed you a little inkling of that during the pandemic, right? Now we are living in a new norm post the pandemic, right? Well, that is nothing compared to the breaking point they're about to put us all in. See, the blackouts that happen in Europe, the tariffs, right? All the mayhem that's been going on since 2025, even the fact that American citizens are being threatened to be sent to El Salvador as prisoners. This is all part of the structural restructuring because they have no time to waste. And if they deem you to be opposed to the agenda, guess what? They will lock you up. We're about to be living in a prison planet, in a totalitarian, crazy, bizarre world. That's what we're about to find ourselves in. That's why I included the clip from Klaus Schwab and also the lady this lady here for WHO, you know, basically giving you the straight skinny of what their plans are. And you have to understand this stuff. You have to know this stuff, right? Nobody's trying to scare you, but if you're scared, fine, good. Because actually living through what we're about to live through is way scarier. It's way crazier than just hearing about it. It's going to go from you hearing about it to actually witnessing it. Not only witnessing it, living through it. It's about to be all out chaos. I'm talking civil war. What happened in Europe is just a trial run. Imagine blackouts that will last for months. Can you imagine that? No water, nothing, no internet, nothing. Even the ports are being reported to be empty. No products are coming in, right? See, all of this is part of the structural restructuring you heard Klaus Schwab talking about. They're about to change the world, turn the world upside down, just so they can achieve the agenda. And what that means for you and I is not pretty. You have to understand this. You have to be very aware of it. You have to take heed about this. A lot of information have gone out. A lot of people have warned about things that are happening. How very soon the shelves will be empty. It's all part of this agenda. Like you see here, it says, we are undergoing a soft coup under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. Dr. Merrill Nass explains how the WHO's proposed pandemic treaty will enable the WHO to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, and ecosystems are all central to health. In addition to that, it will remove human rights protection. That's why Trump, they're looking to have been passing executive orders after executive orders, right? Which Trump doesn't really have any control of all of this stuff, right? He's just the front man. That the real powers that shouldn't be are using him to, push all this stuff to give you a scapegoat, somebody to blame this whole thing on, right? But this is where they're going. Very soon, you have no rights. They can easily send you to El Salvador if they'll deem you to be a threat. They'll put that T word on you like you are a homegrown terrorist. See, you have no clue how crazy it's about to get. And it is about to get sci-fi movie crazy, apocalyptic movie crazy. It says in addition to that, it will remove human rights protection, enforce censorship and digital passports, require governments to push a single official narrative, and enable the WHO to declare pandemics on a whim. Then you have, we'll read through this. I included all these clips. You will see it in the beginning of this video here. But before we go any further, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Ruach. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all you brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 mighty men of the house of Israel, Yasharallah, and to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days, who are of the elect, to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all, I say shalom, right? And there you have it. You have Klaus Schwab basically letting you know it's about to be, like the term they always use, order out of chaos, order out of chaos. So for them to have the NWO, they have to put us through rigorous chaos like nothing you've ever seen. That's exactly what it is. Like it says here, the Great Reset. Let's read this a little bit. It says, former U.S. government insider and author of the Great Reset, Mark Moreno, on Klaus Schwab's recent B20 speech. He's talking about us essentially giving up national sovereignty, which coincides with what this lady is going into here, right? Even though you heard, what is his name? Trump said that he's opting out from WHO and all of that. It's all a charade. It's all smoke and mirrors, if you will. It says he's talking about us essentially giving up national sovereignty, giving up individual freedoms, and turning over rule to experts. Who do you think that is? Well, so-called experts that are in charge of Doge, right? Making it look like, oh, they're draining the swamp. They're going after the bad guys, right? Well, until they direct that tyrannical rule at you, right? Because now we're just looking at that going after some guys out there. Well, very soon it will be. They're already coming after your 401ks, right? How far do you think they're going to take it over? Well, that's the experts. They will do whatever they please. It says this whole agenda is to make it so we have no choice on some of the biggest questions of our lives. It says we didn't get to vote on whether gas-powered cars would be banned. We didn't vote for vaccine mandates. We didn't vote for lockdowns. We didn't vote for the banning of meat, right? They just do all of this stuff without consulting you, just like the lady says here at the end of this clip. She says that part of this whole agenda is that humans are no more than cattle or animals. That is where the goyim comes from, the useless eaters. So you're just nothing but just something, a cog in the machine, an animal that can do whatever they will with, right? She said that, and it's included in the clip. You'll see it. It says, where are we? It says, but all of this is happening because of these meetings like the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. They meet and they work with government corporate collusion to bypass democracy and impose stuff through this corporate government fascism. Well, you never really had, it's always been a corporate, right? America itself, the whole thing about politics and democracy, it's always been a sham, right? Now people are beginning to understand you've been sold a lie. And they always do. They sell you a lie and tell you how they're going to change the world if you elect them. Well, people are finding out you don't actually elect these guys. They are selected. They've all been groomed as a young global leaders. Even when they were young, they were groomed to be leaders. And they do the bidding of the true 1% elites, because a lot of these guys are your Trumps and your Elon Musk and guys of that ilk, even Bill Gates and his like, even Klaus Schwab, right? They are all nothing but puppets in the hand of the major people that run the show, which is the hidden hand, the swamp Trump said he was going to drain. He can't drain that swamp because he is part of that swamp. You see what I'm saying? This is where we are now. We are at the crossroads of crazy things happening on the planet Earth, to the point where it will have you on a chokehold, right? They're looking to squeeze the living life out of you. That's that pressure from above, pressure from below. If it squeeze you to the point where you just break. All hell is about to break loose. And if you're into watching TV series and such, there's this new Daredevil TV series, right? They had Larry Fink, right? I believe Fisk, I believe that's his name. Talking about Fink, the BlackRock CEO. But this is Fisk. He became a mayor. This is a well-known mafia type dude, right? He became the mayor of NYC, and part of him being mayor of NYC is coming against the vigilantes, right? Who do you think the vigilantes are? Well, it's people that go against the status quo. People, your dissenters. That's what it is. If you don't comply with the agendas, because the ladies here, she talked about pushing one narrative, right? So anybody that's coming up with another narrative aside from what the corporate globalists are pushing, guess what? You'll be deemed the bad guy, the terrorist. So in this series, Fisk, he became mayor, and he's using all power. He even turned the NYPD on the people, right? He got all the bad apple in the NYPD. He deputized them, give them their barge and tell them that they can get out there and do whatever they want to do. He wants them to be as cruel as possible, right? Went to the point where he shut off the electric grid. There were blackouts throughout everywhere. This is part of their revelation method. They always got to tell you about these things before they do it. So it's either they put it in such a way that you look at it as just an entertainment, especially when they put it in movies and TV series, right? You look at it and think to yourself, it's just an entertainment. Well, nobody's trying to entertain you. To them, that this is them warning you about what is about to happen, right? There's that blackout that happened. So when I heard about the blackouts that happened in Europe, the first thing I thought about was that series, the Daredevil series. If some of you have seen it, you will understand what I'm talking about, right? They shut off the power grid. There were lights out all throughout, and this blackout has been in the works. And once this blackout happens, everything goes along with it. Even your the water system, right? Everything goes with it. The internet, everything. Your phones will become useless, and if they get it back on, you will need your digital identity to get back on. See, that is part of the structural restructuring that Klaus Schwab is talking about, and you have to be aware of this stuff. It is coming, whether you're ready or not. Ready or not, this stuff is about to come crashing down upon you. Which brings us here real quick. This is the book of 1 Corinthians, the 14th chapter, and the 38th verse. It says, "But if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant." All kinds of warnings have gone out, even on TikTok, to see people making videos, terrified, telling you that the ports are empty. Products are not coming in like they're supposed to. Telling you that some crazy stuff is happening. We're about to face troublesome times like we've never faced before. You see? But if all these warnings, even from the prophets are warning you, prophesying, telling you about that. Even in the Bible it is written that times of tribulations, that this time is going to happen, right? But if you still want to be ignorant, well, go right ahead. Go right ahead. So it even goes further to say, "Wherefore, brethren, convert to prophesy." And in the prophecy written in the Bible, it tells you about the things. Prophecy just means to say something before it happens. And the scriptures is filled with prophecies, and we're living through them right now. And forbid not to speak with tongues, right? It's not talking about just blah, 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 go to the churches, the so-called speaking in tongues, right? They're just blabbing. Speaking in tongues is another language that you might not necessarily, it's like if you don't speak Spanish and I'm speaking Spanish, it means something, but you don't necessarily understand it, all right? Because during this time, the predominant language was the Hebrew, the Latin, and the Greek, I believe, right? So these are if somebody's speaking these different languages, you should try to understand what they're saying. You shouldn't forbid them. Not just the psychobabble of the modern churches talking about speaking in tongues. Well, nobody understands what you're talking about, and you cannot explain yourself. That's why it goes on to say, "Let all things be done decently and in order," right? Going back to the matter at hand, This is 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, the first verse. It said, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord." Right? Going back to the prophecy. So everything happening on the world stage has already been prophesied. The book of Matthew is the 24th chapter, the book of Isaiah, the book of Jeremiah, Obadiah, right? All the prophets prophesy. That's why they're called prophets, right? The book of Revelations, you see, the book of Matthew, John, Mark, the books of the Apostle Paul, right? So these are prophecies that the men of the Lord, like it says here, which I will put in your mouth, right? So the prophecies that were put in the mouth of the prophets, and they scribed it down for our time now. Now we're looking back at it and be like, oh, you know, blown away because we were warned about this stuff. It says, and cause them to be written in paper, right? They scribed it down, for they are faithful and true, meaning the prophecies. It would definitely happen. So it says faithful and true. It says, fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. What is that? It's talking about the unbelief of the people. Here it is, you know, you're telling the people, all hell is about to break loose. A lot of stuff, they'd be like, oh, we've been hearing that for a long time. We don't want to hear that. Get from around here, right? The scoff, the scorn at you, right? But that's why the scripture is saying, don't fear their imaginations against thee, their incredulity, going into their unbelief of what you're saying, right? Don't let it trouble you, because when all the stuff the prophecy starts to happen, that is when it will hit them. They will know that a prophet has been amongst them. It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. See that? So I said, don't let it trouble you. Unfaithful meaning you don't believe, right? You don't have faith. Guess what? You will die in your unfaithfulness. And look at the state of the world right now, right? Everybody's just going after their own lusts. See? So behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world. The sword, what is that? Well, that is any instrument that you can use to cut, to kill somebody. So the modern day sword can be your guns, right? Even the legislations, policies that are put in place that will, you know, bring about some crazy destructive stuff, like the new executive order they're looking to pass. And when they pass this executive orders, right, they can turn the military on the American citizens. You see, so that's part of that sword right there. You know, even when they opened the borders, they had military type personnel coming through the borders, right? They didn't look like your refugee seekers. They look very militant. You see, so all these guys, your what they call them, your sleeper agents, right? They'll be activated in these times. Even robots. This is all part of the swords, right? You seen the robo dogs that they have. They can put guns on their back, strap guns on their back, and let them run wild in the streets. It says famine, right? It's saying that the ports are empty. Truckers are letting you know that they're not getting goods like they're supposed to get, right? Very soon the stores will be empty. Farmers have been systematically destroyed. They've all been complaining, telling you that we are not allowed to produce the way we're supposed to produce. That's why the price of eggs is through the roof. So there's an orchestrated famine going down. Death. Oh boy, imagine walking out in the streets, you see dead bodies piled up. It says death and destruction. This is all what is about to happen on the world stage. This is all part of the structural restructuring. It says, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth. So this is why all this is happening, because of the wickedness of the people, right? Everybody is going after their own lust. Nobody is seeking after the God of the Bible, right? Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Nobody gives an F about living righteously, right? It says, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore, saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood cried out unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Right? All those that look at what is happening, and you sigh and cry for all the abominations that are done in the midst thereof. Right? You're like just Lot, that is vexed with the filthy conversations of the wicked. Right? You go outside, you can't do anything but look at filth all day, man. There's filth everywhere you look. It's a friggin' cesspool, man. Right? So you complain about this because you want the world to be righteous. You want to live in a righteous world where you don't have to worry about your children getting kidnapped, where you don't have to worry about pedophiles, nothing being done to pedophiles. They're just running rampant, right? Nobody that went to Epstein Island has been locked up till today. So we complain about this stuff. Our children are not safe. We are not safe. We can't even drink clean water, right? Everything is polluted. The food is all tainted. The people's mind is polluted, right? You complain about this stuff. It says, and therefore, saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them, right? The precious blood of the righteous that have been shed on the world stage, right? So the Most High will avenge them. It says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. Who are his people? Well, the true biblical Israelites, not the hook-nosed little hats wearing MFers, right? Not them. The true biblical Israelites are typically the Negroes, Latinos, and the Native Americans. And then you have the scattered, that are scattered, who you will know as Gentiles in the scriptures. They're talking about the Gentiles that will be grafted back in. They're still Israelites, but they don't look like your typical Israelites, right? Because you are what your father is. If your father lay with a woman of another nation and you come out not looking like an Israelite, you're still an Israelite, no matter what it is, like Black Griffin. And there's a whole slew of examples like that. They don't look like your typical Israelites, but they are still Israelites because it's not about color. It's a bloodline thing, right? So that's why he's saying here, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt. So the modern day Egypt is America. Why? Well, it is where the God's people, like it says here, my people, right? This is where they were in captivity. Again, just like they were in Egypt. It says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before and would destroy all the land thereof. So a lot of plagues about to happen in America, aka Babylon, aka Egypt. Why? Well, for all the abomination that's done in the midst thereof, all the sodomite activity that's happening in Babylon, all the lasciviousness and just straight up lust and wicked stuff that are being done, right? And ultimately the blood of the righteous that have been shed. You see? It says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plagues and punishment that Most High shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, your farmers, they're complaining, for their seeds shall fail, though through the blasting and hail, and with fearful constellation. Here's the point. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Woe means destruction to the world, the whole entire world, and them that dwell therein. Why? Why will this woe to the world? Well, the 15th verse, it says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. What is that? That's your civil war. All out chaos. People just going at each other. Why? Because it goes on to say, and swords in their hands, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, because ultimately a lot of people are going to wake up to the fact that the politicians have sold you a lie, and they wouldn't give an F anymore. They would straight out just go crazy in the streets, because they'll be like, oh man, we've been lied to yet again. Of course you've been lied to. It's a surprise how a lot of people fall for the okie doke every single time. They all lie to you. They all use the same lie. Make America great again, hope, and whatever it is, build back better. It's all still the same narrative. They might change the wordings a little bit. It's all still the same thing, right? It says, and the cause of their actions shall stand in their power. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. What is that? That's your martial laws, right? You won't be able to just go around anymore. There will be blockades everywhere. You will need your verification. That's where the digital identity comes in. That's where the mark of the beast comes in. You see? It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. See that? Men shall be. Why? It's talking about, imagine women. If men will be this afraid, imagine the state of women, right? Men will be afraid because nobody has witnessed what we're about to witness. Nobody has lived through what we are all about to live through. It will be terrifying. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. Imagine that. Your neighbor, oh, hi, Jacob. Hi, Smith. Hi, Jack. All of that. All your neighbors you like to greet and invite them over for a couple of beers and dinners and things like that. Well, it's going to come to a point where you will have no pity upon your neighbor. And what will they do? It said, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. You shoot up their houses and spoil their goods, run up in their homes and take everything they got. That's how desperate people will be because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Because of the lack of bread. What is there? Food. There will be no food. The shelves will be empty. After all the smash and grabs from, all our chaos breaking out, the food will go empty, right? All the foods you've stored out, even the people that have been prepping, and a lot of people, they've been prepping and they've been putting it on social media, showing you how they've been prepping. What do you think is going to happen? The people that saw you putting it up on social media, they will bum rush your homes, man. Your neighbors. While you were prepping, your neighbors were stockpiling guns and ammunitions so they can rush into your homes, shoot it up, and, take whatever it is you got. That's how crazy it's going to get. That's how crazy it's going to get, man. It says, behold, said the Lord, I will call together all the kings of the earth. I mean, it's okay right there. We'll stop it right there, right? But you get the point. A whole lot is about to happen. A whole lot is about to happen. And a lot of people are not ready for that. A whole lot of people are not ready for that, which is why you are supposed to keep your eyes peeled. Like it says here in 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, and the 5th verse, it says, ye are all children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. What is darkness? Well, when it's dark, you can't see nothing, alluding to the fact that you're not just ignorant, like we read earlier in 1 Corinthians, right? You're not just ignorant, just walking around in darkness. You actually know what is happening because you have the light. The divine light that comes from the wisdom and the understanding from above, right? So therefore, let us not sleep as do others. It doesn't mean you can't go to sleep at night. It means you cannot just be easily distracted, right? You can't just be out there not knowing what is happening around you. It says, therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober-minded. Don't let the bread and circuses, deter you from understanding the world you're living in and what is happening on the world stage. So for they that sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet the hope of salvation. Right? Because the craziness we're all about to get through, Lord willing, we'll get through it. And what will come next? Well, the salvation. So we're about to put through the test, each and every one of us. Will you maintain your integrity and your faith in the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, or will you easily break and conform and consent to the wicked elites and be destroyed. Right? Time will tell, right? We can only hope and pray that the Most High, through His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, keeps the Spirit on in us to maintain and stand firm. And with that, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechah HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.